And so we begin. Okay. Hello, lovelies. I hope that you are getting some clarity with some of what we're talking about here. I'm doing my best to not obsess over who's looking, how many views, any analytics, who's subscribed. My only thing that I'm really looking for is the comment section, because I don't want to ignore anybody that may be asking a question. So that's what I've been working on with this challenge of doing a daily video of DIY life and self-empowerment. So this is day 7, full week. Is it day? Yes. Anyway, I changed the routine a little bit and heard go ahead and pull some cards before the session, getting a little bit of an idea of what was being suggested to discuss. So I pulled the first one. Well, when I was shuffling, any card that like really jumps out is intended to be seen. So the first one that came out was dark. And the second one that came up, well, maybe I'll talk about the darkness first. So, dark. Interesting thing in an observation is we tend to look at darkness, as a scary place. And in the brain, it usually talks about, self-talk, right? I can't see anything around me. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I am, blah, 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 right? So that creates more of a persona of fear in our subconscious, unconscious. And yes, there is a difference, as I've been told, between the unconscious and subconscious. And so for me, when I work, there's actually 3 levels: conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. And then there's a whole energetics, which is why 4 was showing in my hand. Like, why did I just show 4? Oh, right, okay. So, and that goes extension to depression, the darkness of depression, wearing black and people who wear only black. It's very interesting. Now, universe, the body, the mind, abhors emptiness, abhors it in a lot of ways. So if there's an emptiness or a vacancy somewhere, guaranteed that space will be filled. The question then there is, what will it be filled with? Something you are empowered by? Something that scares you? An old scar tissue? Physical scar tissue like a tumor? It's going to be filled. Period. That's the truth of nature and universe. So we have an option when there is a void, which darkness can provide, right? When you look at the card, it's dark around, but in the middle of it, it's not. There is, darkness, blackness. It's all the colors pulled together to create black. You can make black with all the colors of the rainbow. You just, black. Interesting, right? So, from a dark space, ashes, the phoenix, what happens in forest fires when things are devastated, new growth. And so darkness, it would be great for us as a species and spiritual beings to be reminded that out of darkness comes the second card that was pulled. Focus. Oh, direction. And look at it, how vibrant it is. So the darkness allows for the stillness, right? So part of what this whole spiritual quest of meditation and quieting is, because we're so active and active and active, we disregard what we want to really focus on and look at, right? As a distraction. So when we tune in and we meditate, or we get still and we get mindful, the uprooting of some of the fears are allowed to be worked on and decided with what to do with. There's so much stuff that we get what I call hand-me-downs, right? Some good, really awesome things are handed down to us, and some junk and what we call family dumping also comes onto us. It's not just family of origin, it's family of environment, it's family meaning social, cultural. You bring in stuff from your historical part of your spirit, and then there's the stuff that you come in with, right? So there's a lot. It's a lot. So being a human is a lot. And so small bouts of depression, kind of a regular way of shedding off some of this stuff. Now, obviously, the more dramatic depressions are symptoms of not having tools to get out and feeling more trapped with the replay and the constant self-denigrating thoughts and beliefs and limitations and all that without having really tools, right? So if that stays there, then it kind of goes into a more of a schizophrenic kind of persona. And I'm not a psychologist. These are observations from what I get from source and information guidance. So that's kind of how that works. So in the body, because body and mind universe, it's all the same thing, just on a different tissue, right? Because our heart is also part of our brain, and our gut feeling, is also part of our brain. So all these areas are going to have their own mechanisms of dealing with things. So the darkness, the meditation, the quiet can be revered as a good place if it's done and when it's done, with support. And if you know you just can't go to those dark places without support, then get support. If you can't do it yourself, don't do it yourself. I mean, we all are striving to be better, regardless at what level that's perceived. We all really do inherently strive to be better and uplift. Part of the reason there is this turnover of, families having kids and the goal of evolution of families and cultures is to uplift. It certainly isn't to recede and go back or go worse, right? That doesn't even make sense. So it's not naturally logical. So we have an opportunity to go from the darkness into a direction, which is really cool. And sometimes the time between darkness and direction is longer than we like, and that sucks. And I know it. I've experienced a migraine headache that lasted, what I can remember, about 5 years. One of the darkest parts of my life. And I call it in my bio, on my websites, I call it one of my midlife crises, and that was in my 20s. So it can happen at any time. The transformation is you're being asked, your spirit is being asked to go into it in order to grow and get out of it, so that you don't have to repeat cycles, right? So you can tell I'm jazzed by this kind of information, and it does drive me. However, in addition to that, so those were the cards for this conversation. And so in the darkness, so here's your challenge. Within the darkness, so take the time to meditate and look for that glow. And what that glow in your challenge of focus could be, should you take it on, is what have you taken for granted. That was the word. I was trying to think of the exact phraseology, so excuse me. What have you taken for granted about your own gifts? I listen to Hay House Radio quite a bit, and if you haven't heard of that, it's a 24/7 online radio station about spiritual growth, and there are many different lecturers on there that have shows, and everything from health to angel work to whatever. And I listen to it quite a bit because I like to stay on top of what's going on in the ethers, right? In the collective unconscious about topics. And and I can't remember, so I apologize, one of the ladies had said, everybody is given thousands and thousands of gifts when they're born. For this plane, for this universe. So we all have a choice as to how many and which ones we're going to keep and implement, empower or restrict. Those parts, that last bit I heard from guidance. So I think it's an interesting idea, and I'm actually really glad, because I'm glad that I heard that, because it reminded me that people say what I can do when I work with people, how I see the body, things like that, is quite a gift. And I remember for quite a long time I would say it's not a gift because I can't exchange it and I can't return it. I don't have a gift receipt. And I wouldn't necessarily offer this gift to someone else. So if there was a white elephant party for gifts, I don't know that I would give this away. Or, well, I don't know that I could give it away. Because I wouldn't want someone else to have this gift. So in looking at that, yes, it is a gift. The way that I perceive information that comes into me, the way that I interpret it, the way that I'm utilizing it or attempting to utilize it in my life, it actually is a gift, and I know it holds a special place for me. I also know that it holds a space somewhere in the universal unconscious that I have no responsibility for, other than I have to put it out, which is why I'm doing the video. Videos. Regardless of who's watching and who's not. So, yes, I now see it as a gift. The reason I wouldn't give it to a lot of people, or anybody else really, is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of self-analyzing. It's a lot of self-growth. It's a lot of confusion. It's a lot of, for me, it's a lot of physical pain that I've been having to resolve really from the moment that I remember, which was about 9 years old when I had my first concussion. And so we can't really pick our gifts. That may change at some point. That's not what I'm hearing, though. So if we can't pick our gifts, it is our decision to choose how we utilize them, if we do choose to utilize them. And if they're, if they're supported, right? So the question is, what gifts have you allowed to be utilized? And what gifts have you inherently had that you've forgotten or denied? And so I don't have much memory of my childhood growing up. Certainly after throughout my 3 kids, I have things I don't remember. I don't know if it's just overload, energetic overload, or what, because I had a lot going on. And certainly being, open and hearing messages and whatnots, I don't know what was mine and what wasn't mine. Certainly as a kid, I didn't have much organization around it. So I don't really have much memory, and I don't really care anymore. It's like, whatever, right? So I appreciate my life because it gave me what and who I am today. But I also remember that there were things that I did when I was a kid that I did inherently, right? And that's the point. If there are things that you did that you can remember being gifted at as a child, likely that's part of what you have in you, right? So have you allowed that to sustain throughout your life as a positive gift? And can you still see it as a positive gift? Sometimes they morph and mutate into a challenge, certainly, like, you know, what I was talking about earlier. It can be a challenge that you just, you know, you want to be a little bit pitiful about, and why me, and all, you know, all that sort of stuff. So they can convert. However, can we get them back? And I think we can. I think we can. So for example, if in your youth, you had a gift and an ability that just came natural, whether that's kinesthetic awareness and athleticism, if that's drawing, if that's organizing, if that's whatever, arguing. It's kind of a gift to be able to argue successfully. Get your way. That's kind of a gift. Then how are you still utilizing it? And if you haven't, how can you get it back? What is it that you can do to either let go of the input of negative reinforcements that gift is actually not useful, not understood, so it needs to go away, interruptive, it makes the adults feel less like an adult and in charge. It potentially that your gift takes away someone else's comfort and control, things like that. And then see what that component is, and see how you can bring it back into your life in a positive way. How can you utilize it now and bring from that darkness that it was submerged in, bring it a new growth. Allow it to give it some growth, some energy, some nourishment. We talked about tapping the thymus in the middle of the chest to get focused and cleared. Picture that talent, that gift, and declare a statement that you're going to utilize. I'm utilizing this gift again in my life, and I'm so appreciative, and thank you for reenacting this gift in me. But then take your action steps. So you really want to see what it is that you can do to support it through an action, through an expression of some sort outside of here, right? So that's your challenge. Please share what your gifts were when you realize what, and it could be multiple. Just don't stop at one. But if you just want to take, just one, just take one. If you want to take multiple and make a list, sometimes it's nice to just right, vomit your ideas so your ego can't catch up and restrict you, and then go through the list when you're a little bit more quiet and relaxed, and you go, oh, ooh, I'd like to pull that one back. So yeah, let's do it. Okay, so I wish you much encouragement, and I of course wish you much empowerment, and we'll see you again. Bye.